So I'm telling you, when they say that when it expands in Chokhmah, then Bina rises to Chokhmah, receives Chokhmah, then phase one has what? She already has Chokhmah, and can already emerge outwards. So how can it emerge? There needs to be equivalence of 1, and it still has to Bina, 2. So what state are we learning now? What are we standing at? Where there's the expansion in Chokhmah and receives Chokhmah and receives Bina. We have expansion in Bina, we learn. So I'm learning now that there's no Chokhmah and no Bina. They're illuminating in their wholeness yet. Chokhmah illuminates expansion to Chokhmah. Bina illuminates as she connected to Chokhmah. It turns out that I'm learning now that Bina was refined. So if we learn that, then we learn that Chokhmah was refined as well. The whole phase 2 was refined. And then Bina that has Chokhmah, in Chokhmah, she gives Chesed to Chokhmah. She gives Chokhmah to the Chesed. And the question is asked, if we say that we cannot give her Chokhmah Chesed, Chokhmah Chesed, phase 1 of hers, prior to Bina being refined, together with Chokhmah. If so, where is there the light of Chokhmah for the Kli of Chesed? It turns out from here that although Chokhmah and Bina were refined, and now they need to ascend to Keter, and Keter extends 4-3. As they extend 4-3 comes the control of the light of Keter and does not let Chokhmah to illuminate, only Chasadim. So it turns out that until this action happens, there's still Chokhmah in the degree. When the light of Chokhmah depart from the degree, after they ascended, and after they extended, and after the light of Keter is whole on its behalf, then the light of Chokhmah departs from the degree. Hence, I can't say yet that for the time being there's the light of Chokhmah and it did not expand in the Keter. Same point. Here comes the question that he doesn't tell us. He only says that there was expansion in Chokhmah. 3-2-2-1, he doesn't explain either. Explain Chokhmah, okay. Bina to Chokhmah, also okay. The lights of Bina that he wants to give to phase 1, Bina needs to be refined. What about the vessel of Chokhmah? We learned together that Chokhmah, Bina are refined. Why is Bina refined? She's helping to the sons. What is that the Chokhmah is being refined? So I can say that it's because of the beating of internal and surrounding. He doesn't say, he doesn't imply this, explain this to us. Here, I should say it this way, and we'll see if it'll be okay. That it's impossible that their degree will be refined, the upper will not refine. So the question is, how do I say this in Keter? I also say, Keter there isn't. Keter, there's what? There's nothing. Now I'm saying that they rose to Keter, and Keter extended, and Keter becomes coarser, and Keter now has 4-3. Then, also, it doesn't have Chesed either. But the question is asked, what does Gvura have? What coarseness? That's the question. You understand me? If I say that it will be corrected, 4-3 in the Kli of Keter, there is. 3-2 in the Kli of Chokhmah, there isn't. And what is in the Kli of Bina? And then, when there's expansion in Bina, expands in Keter, expands in Bina. What is then the expansion in Bina? No, I'm saying that it's not expanding in Bina. Two distances. Only what does he say? It doesn't expand in Chesed as well, and Chesed rises to the Kli of Bina. Only expansion in Gvura, we need to know what kind of coarseness do we learn, that it doesn't have 3-2 and not 2, and there is 1. Or 1, we'll see. We'll learn Gvura, and then we'll see. I'll ask another question. How do we say Mate in Bina, expanded in Bina, where there's only Chasadim, no Chokhmah? After all, we learned in a place where there's no Chokhmah, Chasadim also can't come. How could there be Chasadim?
Tshuva.
Answer.
What
Bina receives Chokhmah, she does not want. What Chokhmah does not bestow, meaning what Keter does not bestow Chokhmah, because she's afraid maybe they'll receive in the not right, incorrect way. That's a completely different matter. There they speak of one who has the desire to receive in order to receive. Then it's upon that discernment that there was a restriction. Hence it cannot receive Chokhmah. So what about Chasadim? There was no restriction for it to have the light of Chasadim. The answer comes to this, that it's because it was one light. If the desire to receive were given to receive Chasadim, it will receive the light of Chokhmah that's there. Hence, there's a rule in a place that the light of Chokhmah cannot arrive due to it wanting to receive in order to receive. The light of Chasadim also cannot reach there. Otherwise, there would have to be a shattering in the light. Whereas, where he doesn't want to receive Chokhmah, because of the correction, then why could it not come with the light of Chasadim? The Chokhmah does not receive. Does it not want to receive the Chokhmah? Here it is explained that in the world, that we're in the world of Biyah, and the worlds of Biyah, where the Chokhmah cannot come because of the Parsa. So how can the light of Chasadim come there? After all, we learned that also there's the light of begetting a new thing. What's this new thing? There are vessels there that are made, vessels of bestowal, that are called the anterior vessels, which want to just bestow and not to receive Chokhmah. They want to bestow and not receive Chokhmah. They can receive Chasadim. They won't blemish anything. The question comes many times. We talked about this. And the answer I can only give through an allegory. The question, it's one action. If we're talking in lights, there's no distinguishment. All the discernments are just in the vessels. Hence, how does the light of Chasadim come to vessels of bestowal? If so, he asks, what does he ask? Why is there no light of Chasadim in the empty void that receives in order to receive? After all, he doesn't want this light. What does he want to explain, and why does it not come? For this, I can just give an allegory. We see, and in the matter of a picture, here, look, sometimes there's a person who received the longings of this world all the way up. Then he comes to pray, dear Creator, I want to bestow to you now. Let me have some pleasure from the prayer, from the Torah. I want to bestow to you. Correct. Now he wants to bestow. And we don't feel pleasure in Torah and prayer to be given something, pleasure in Torah and Tefillah and prayer. What is he going to ask now? There'll be the light of pleasure, and he will take this pleasure and leave the chasadim. It turns out that even though he wanted to bestow now, the moment the light of pleasure will come, what will he do? He'll receive the pleasure and leave everything. Why? Because he's invested in the passions of this world. This is the allegory I gave, where there's a reality that he does want and can't. So he's prohibited of giving to him. As long as he feels a taste, he wants to bestow. The moment he has taste for something, he will leave everything, the Creator and the Torah and the commandments, and will only want the pleasure that's there. Just as we see in corporality, a person forgets everything and wants only if there's great pleasure. He loses his cool, and he comes, like we could say, like in the allegory, a person that's in the middle of he's like he's angry at someone else, and he forgets everything, and he becomes angered and is willing to yell at him, and when it is nice or not nice, all his mind, he loses it. He just wants pleasure from this, to yell at the other. Such a picture goes with all the passions, all the longings. Hence, for him to give him light, the light of pleasure, and now he also thinks that there's no taste in this, so he thinks that the Torah and commandments are everything. Hence, when the pleasure illuminates, he leaves it all. He doesn't need the Creator, he doesn't need the Torah or the mitzvot. Just the pleasure will be all my life. Did you understand this allegory or not?
Item 41. Afterwards, it returned to being not expanding in Keter, and then it is expanding in Chokhmah. At that time, Bina was supposed to remain in Chokhmah as in the beginning. But because of the light of Chesed in her place, she descends with him, because she desires mercy. You already know Bina is called he. Descends to her place. Chesed does not need her, and she descends to his place and is called expanding in Chesed. Then the light of Gvura ascends to Chesed and called not expanding at Gvura. At that time, the vessel of Gvura turns her interior downward and gives 5 lights below in Tiferet. This is called expanding in Tiferet. Then Bina could remain in Chokhmah in the beginning. He explains, for not expanding in Keter, here the posterior of Chokhmah and Bina come back to 1 degree, that then the Bina is in the vessel of Chokhmah. We find that Bina ascended to Chokhmah in order to receive Chokhmah. Meaning for who? For the sake of the sons. That's what we learned there. Here it's not forgotten. Why? For Chokhmah turned her interior downward and her posterior upward, and returned the zone of Bina to the vessel of Bina. That is a bit difficult. So what happened here? And they were divided into 2 partsufim once more. And examine it carefully, he explains. First, when the vessel of Chokhmah received her lights of Zon, and the interior of Chokhmah returned to its place as in the beginning, Bina and Chokhmah certainly joined and became 1 vessel for the same reason mentioned above, regarding the birth of the Gadlut of Chesed, as it is written. For here too, the Chesed is in the vessel of Bina, which is connected to the vessel of Chokhmah. He receives illumination of Chokhmah once more, as in the beginning. Thus you find that the chesed is grown once more and does not need its ima, yet he still cannot descend from himself to his vessel except through the bestowal of Binah. Hence Chokhmah had to return Zon of Binah to the vessel of Binah. As then Binah too returns her anterior downward and returns the light of Chesed to its vessel. What is written?
So when the vessel of Bina ascends, and the one that descends was not given emphasis, and this is what supports something from above. When at the time when there is Chokhmah for the benefit of the sons, Bina ascends to Chokhmah. And what is the emphasis given here? How she needs to descend again to Bina. To Bina, she's phase one. I want to say both are the same thing. There's no novelty here. There he emphasizes the ascent, and here he emphasizes the descent. What does it say above the Rav? But because of the light of Chesed in her place, she descends to be there with him. In other words, had Bina remained connected to the vessel of Chokhmah, Chesed would have remained in her place and would not have descended to his vessel of Chesed, as mentioned above in the adjacent passage. But because of the light of Chesed in her place, so I'm learning, in order to give Chesed Chokhmah, she descends, yes? We will see what he explains. Because he desires mercy. This is the whole quality of Bina. She craves chasadim more than the light of Chokhmah. This is the cause of the refinement of the coarseness of phase 3 of the male of Chokhmah to phase 2. And afterwards, phase 2 of Bina to phase 1, whose light is light of chasadim. At that time, she is face to face with the vessel of Chesed, and then gives the light of Chesed back to the vessel of Chesed. It is written, when Bina descends in her place, Chesed does not need her, and he ascends to his place. This is so because after he had already received illumination of Chokhmah from the time the vessel of Bina and the vessel of Chokhmah were connected, he no longer needs the suckling of the vessel of Bina, hence he descends to his place. What is written? So when the vessel of Bina ascends, what ascends was not emphasized. This is what supports. In other words, I would interpret what he says that the vessel of Bina was if it remained in the vessel of Chokhmah, like the vessel of Chokhmah of direct light, there's no chasadim there. So there needs to be chasadim with the illumination of Chokhmah. So when Bina goes down to her place, there's chasadim. In Chokhmah, the illumination of Chokhmah still is there. There's no two distances here. The rule of the Keta is not there, and therefore now Zaranpin has light of Chasadim with illumination of Chokhmah. However, if the vessel of Binah remains above, in the vessel of Chokhmah shines Chasadim. Below, she's delighted in mercy, and now there's Chokhmah in the degree. Why? There are no two distances here, because the Keta doesn't control yet. If so, he has Chokhmah from before, so now he has light of Chasadim with illumination of Chokhmah. Now let's see if we can learn inside. We'll see. It seems that she is Chafetz Chesed because her whole quality of Bina, which she desires Chasadim, more than the light of Chokhmah, and that causes the refinement of the phase 3 of the male of Chokhmah to the phase 2. And after that, when Bina already has Chasadim, phase 2 of Bina refines to phase 1, whose light is light of Chasadim. And then she is face to face with the vessel of Chesed, which has Chasadim, and she gives the light of Chesed back to the vessel of Chesed. But the illumination of Chokhmah, we'll see. And this is what they said when she descended the Bina to her place, because after she received the illumination of Chokhmah, since the vessel of Bina and the vessel of Chokhmah were connected together, there's no longer a need for the suckling of the vessel of Bina of Chokhmah. Only Chasadim descend into its place. 30, column 1, not expanding in Gvura. Page 330, column 1, the passage beginning with not expanding in Gvura. Not expanding in Gvura. At that time, the vessel of Gvura turns her interior downward. Here we need to understand. He says thus far, for the whole division of Gvura from Chesed was because of the two distances. Two causes that distanced the light of Chokhmah from the degree. And since Chesed needs Chokhmah and did not have it, why were the two distances? That is, because of the return of the zone of Keter to their place. When it was not expanding in Keter, which caused, since it was not expanding in Chokhmah and Bina, for both were refined now to phase 1. At that time, the illumination of Chokhmah stopped from Chesed. Because Keter shines Chasadim, and Bina wants Chasadim. Only we did not ask yesterday, what is the benefit of that Bina does want Chasadim, does not want Chasadim, if we are not expanding in Keter? There's already no light of Chokhmah in the degree. What does this light of Bina give? The one that wants Chasadim, to the one who wants Chasadim. If there is still another distance, we will see afterwards. At that time, the illumination of Chokhmah stopped from Chesed, hence he turned his interior downward, Chesed, and gave the phase of Vak, the phase of Chasadim, to Gvura, as mentioned above. And therefore, now that Chesed attained his Gal once more, Chokhmah again, why? For we just learned, not expanding in Keter, expanding in Chokhmah. It is natural that the phase of the light Gvura that departed from the Gal returned to the vessel of Chesed once more, as in the beginning, before they separated. What is he telling us here? Here, a principle is missing to us. What principle is missing? At the time when the degree has Gal, the Vak joins with the Gal. When does the Vak rise on its own? At the time when the light of Gal does not shine. Therefore, when the light of Chesed shines, which is Gal, which is the phase of Chokhmah, then Bina joins with Chesed. But at the time when there is no Gal, Chesed does not shine, then it rises by the name of the phase of Vak, which is the phase of Guram. But this principle we will learn in a moment. See and understand that it is completely similar to the conduct of the vessels of Chokhmah and Bina mentioned above. For just as the division of the lights of zone of Chokhmah, male and female of Chokhmah, and male and female of Bina, was made because of the inversion of the posterior of the vessel of Chokhmah, which means that Chokhmah left the bestowal of her Gal, the bestowal of Chokhmah, and bestowed only Vak, only Chasadim. which are the phase of zone of the vessel of Bina. Then they were divided into 2 degrees. Whereas we learned, when not expanding in Chokhmah, then Bina ascends to Chokhmah. Similarly, the lights of Chesed and Gvura were divided by the inversion of the interior of the vessel of Chesed. After the illumination of Gal was denied of him from the vessel of Chesed because of the 2 distances, Keter and Bina, who do not want Chokhmah, he turned his interior, Chesed, which was Gal, and he caused it to fall, and bestowed Vak without Gal through the posterior that was previously his posterior Chasadim. It has now become the interior and bestows that Vak without Chokhmah. This is the light of Gvura, as mentioned above. And just as after it is not expanding in Keter, and his force of posterior was cancelled, and he returned the light of Chokhmah to the vessel of Chokhmah, the interior of Chokhmah returned to its place as in the beginning. Thus, the lights of Zon of Chokhmah and Zon of Binah reunited into a single Parzuf. We just learned that not expanding in Keter, expanding in Chokhmah. Similarly, here, after Chesed acquired illumination of Chokhmah, when he was in the vessel of Binah, at the time he was connected with Chokhmah, he returned with the Gadlut to his place. At that time, again, similarly here, after Chesed acquired illumination of Chokhmah, when he was in the vessel of Binah, at the time he was connected with Chokhmah, he returned with the Gadlut to his place. At that time, his interior returned as in the beginning, and thus the lights of Chesed and Gvura unite into one light. Same thing here. After the Chesed attained the illumination of Chokhmah, when did Chesed attain Chokhmah? So he says, since he was in the vessel of Binah during its connected with the vessel of Binah with Chokhmah, then Binah was refined from 2 to 1, and Chesed returned with the Gadlut to its place. At that time, his interior returned as in the beginning, and thus the lights of Chesed and Gvura unite into one light. All this is because the light is only divided into Gal and Vak because some element compels it to. Consequently, as soon as that element is cancelled, they return to a single light as in the beginning.
נעבור לחלק הבא של השיעור, לימוד בין חברים.